How are you doing? This is David W. Williams, also known as Diamond Dave. Let's get into our Laws of Game episode. And what we're going to talk about is dating for entrepreneurs. And this is going to be a video for people that are entrepreneurs, people that maybe aspire to be entrepreneurs, and they're not in a committed relationship. They may not be married. They may not have somebody that they're seeing seriously. And they want to kind of understand how being an entrepreneur, being a self-employed person can impact their dating. And this is going to be really, really important because once you enter into a certain space that is kind of untraditional or uncommon for the majority of the population, it can impact, right, not only your relationship choices, but it also can impact how people act or I would say conduct themselves in a relationship kind of based on your lifestyle. And this is what a lot of people may struggle with because the majority of the world is conditioned to date somebody or be in a relationship with somebody that has a 9-to-5. And there's nothing wrong with that. However, when you get outside of that particular space, it can be very unusual to how people are engaging with you or interacting with you. Why? Because you're kind of outside of the norm. And when I say entrepreneur, I mean entrepreneurs, I mean people that are self-employed. This could also go with people that are have a side hustle and they maybe desire to move into it full time. And you really want to understand some of the complexity and some of the challenges that you're going to have dating as this particular type of person in our society, because American society is still designed for most people to get a job. And it's also designed for most people in the majority of our country to desire to work one job. You go to a lot of our bigger metropolitan areas, people are working multiple jobs, but a lot of people, the American dream still is that I just have this one job, I work it and I go home. And many of us have been conditioned to desire somebody that has that type of work-life balance. Therefore, when we meet somebody that's outside of their norm, we don't necessarily always know how to deal with them. And then when you become one of those kind of people, you can find it challenging that a lot of people don't understand your lifestyle because it's going to be totally foreign to how they're living. So we're going to go ahead and talk about that. So here's some of the things that you're going to deal with, right? As a person who is an entrepreneur, you're self-employed, some of the challenges that people are going to have to deal with in trying to date you, right, or be in a relationship with you is the fact that you have an unconventional schedule. And what I mean by that is that your schedule is very unconventional. It may not be a 9-to-5. Me, for example, I usually put a lot of hours in on Monday, right? Because I usually try to start the week off and try to really get some traction and get some momentum. So my Mondays are normally, I put a lot of hours in on Monday, like a lot. And then as the week goes on, I kind of curtail and kind of slower my hours down. But normally on Monday, with all things considered equal, I usually put a lot of hours in on Monday because what I try to do is get the week to start off. Therefore, my schedule may be different than a person to where they're looking at Monday as the first day I got to get out of the week for me to get to Friday. I don't necessarily look at my schedule like that. I also don't work towards the weekend. And what I mean by that is I'm not working to get Saturday and Sunday off. And that's how a lot of people work is, their goal is to work to get closer to the weekend so they can finally get some time off to do what they want to do. So many times as an entrepreneur, one of the things that you're going to have to manage is the fact that you have what we call an unconventional schedule. Second thing is that we're dealing with a massive failure rate. Many people are going to be unsuccessful at their business. And then therefore that can impact your lifestyle. It can impact your personality. It can impact your psychology. And that's something that now can bleed into your relationships. And so not only do you got to watch that, but the people that you're involved with, they have to figure out how to deal with that because there is a massive failure rate for entrepreneurs. And it's not anything to be embarrassed about. It's not anything to be ashamed of. It's just part of the game that we're playing. Then you got the cost of running the business. Many times that you're starting a business from the start, you may have to put a lot of upfront capital into the business. You have the business operating. You may have to take money out of the business and continue to use that for the operations. You may be driving a certain amount of revenue, and however, a percentage of that revenue is actually it's not profit. It's just revenue being driven in the business, and a lot of people don't necessarily understand that. So there's going to be a cost of running that business that you always have to take into account. And that's something that the YouTube crowd really doesn't understand, to where, you could be in the e-com space doing $1 million, $1.5 million, $2 million a year in revenue. Everybody's like, oh my God, I can't believe that. And you got a 25% profit margin. Now your margin of profit is higher than the average working person. But then the question is, right, how hard are you working to make the money that you're working? Is it worth what you're doing? And it can take a time to get to that level to where you're doing that 20% margin of profit. And then is that 20% margin of profit sustainable? We're in an era now where inflation, supply chains, contracting are making it harder and harder for a lot of people to get the things they need to sell to their end buyer. Therefore, now your margins can get skewed. This is the part of business that nobody really talks about. And so there's a cost of running that business, not only in time, but also in money, that a lot of people don't factor in. They're not necessarily told about it until they actually get into business. Then another thing you got to think about is the average person just may not be able to relate to you. And that's what people got to understand. Because this society we're living in America is still kind of set up for people to desire a 9 to 5. They desire to work 8 hours and go home and do what they want to do, right? They desire to get the weekends off. They think these are things that they should desire to do what they want to do. And they feel like the job is just something that they do to now be able to enjoy themselves doing what they want to do with their free time. The average person may not understand your lifestyle, right? They just may not get it because there's so few people that they may know that live that kind of lifestyle. And therefore it can cause a disconnect between somebody that you may like, you may be interested in them romantically. However, they just may not understand what you're going through on a day-to-day basis. Most people, right, will start a business and then they stop it once it gets tough. And the small amount of people that actually persevere, they go through it, they have a business that failed, they start another business, they have a business that failed, they start another business. What's interesting is that many of the people that we put on the pedestal as, these billionaire entrepreneurs, what they don't talk about is the fact that they failed a lot before they became successful. Everybody just sees a success story. And then we also have this perception in America that where if you're not a success by a certain age, you're a failure. Well, most people don't really become successful in business till they're north of 40 years old. What you get marketed to is a 20-something-year-old or the 16-year-old, they did $1 million on YouTube. Okay, can they do that $1 million for 10 years? Or are they just going to have a 1-year run or a 5-year run in which they do $1 million? The world is littered full of people that had a good 4 or 5 years in business. It's full of those kind of people, right? It's less people that had a good 10 years in business. There's even less people that have a good 20 years in business. And a lot of people that are, they're using other people's business failure as a way to promote and market themselves as being the authority on why you shouldn't start a business. They need to figure out how they're going to make their business last that long. You understand me? A lot of people are going to have a good social media run. And then their run is over and nobody's going to care anything that they have to say on social media because it's just as simple. YouTube can change the algorithm and your whole social media business gets changed just by changing their algo. And therefore, you got to really understand is that if you're not driving traffic to your social media platform using some type of paid marketing, there's no guarantee anybody's ever going to see your videos. Why? Because all YouTube has to do is change your algorithm. Now your business is impacted. And then you had a 3-year run, just like you were telling other people why they shouldn't start a business because they only going to have a 3-year run. Like this is how business works. It can be impacted by things that you have no control over. And this is what people have to understand. You're in a very, very volatile space as a business person, as a self-employed person. The war in Ukraine and Russia can impact your business negatively. And what can you do about it? Nothing, because you're not in control of that. And this is one of the things that a lot of people deal with when they're trying to develop relationships, they're trying to date people romantically, is that they can face challenges that the average person doesn't really understand as a result of their lifestyle. And it's not to say that business people are better than non-business people. I don't really come from that standpoint. You're not a better person because you got a business. You're definitely not a better person because you got a successful business, because a lot of people are born with advantages that other people aren't born with. They're not going to never tell you that. They just gonna make it seem like everybody starts at the same place, and that's not how this world works. You understand me? However, when you're in business for yourself and you're self-employed, you can have situations going on that the average person doesn't really understand. And let me give an example of what I'm talking about. Years ago, I was dating this woman, and she had a job working for the state, and her job required her to drive a lot. And then she had y'all might remember the Bluetooth phone system. So she had the Bluetooth in her ear because she was always talking to people involved in her job. And then what she would often do is call me, because we were dating, while she was on the road driving. And she would call me multiple times a day. Now I'm at home. This is before, this is before working at home was a thing where hardly anybody worked from home. So I'm working at home, trying to do my thing in business, trying to make sure I'm, on top of my projects, trying to make sure I'm driving revenue through my business, trying to make sure my clients are satisfied. And she's constantly calling me, right? And it got to the point to where I couldn't really run my business because I can't talk to you and also run my business. However, she really didn't understand that I couldn't talk to her. And she low-key got offended when I told her I can't keep doing this because it's taking me out of my flow and out of my concentration because I'm trying to make money. And so I need a time of the day in which I can call you and talk to you. And then once that's over, I got to go back to get money. I just can't be talking to you throughout the day. Now, a lot of y'all have been trained through these little gurus on YouTube that you want the woman to always be reaching out to you. The problem is this. When you need to make money, I don't have a job. I need to drive revenue through my business to support myself. When you need to make money, you need to focus on making money. You need to focus on the things that are going to allow you to make money to push your business forward. You do not have time to be talking on the phone to somebody just because they want to talk to you because they want to hear your voice. Now, when you work a 9-to-5 and you're bored on the job and you don't really drive revenue through that job, you're essentially an expense to the job as opposed to maybe being a profit generator. You're looking for these distractions from your job because you really don't want to be there anyway. So you want a girl that keeps calling you, every 2 to 3 hours, asking you what you're doing and texting you and expect you to text her back. You like that. You like the attention. You feel like you somebody now because you finally got a girl, on your tip. That's a big deal to you based on what these dating gurus and the Percocet pill, Vicodin pill guys have told you. However, when your business is based around you acquiring new clients, you keeping those clients happy, you turning these projects around, you have to be on top of that, right? Because that's how you make your money, right? I didn't make my money doing social media. I made my money getting projects, turning those projects around, keeping those people happy, keeping those people in the business so I could do more projects for them. That's how I made my money. And that's what I needed to be focused on. And then even if you outsource that, then you got to lead your leaders. So even if you say, okay, I'm gonna outsource this, I'm gonna hire this, well, now you have to go lead those people. One of the big lies of the internet is that you can create this system. It means you don't have to run it and everything gets run for you. Yeah, you can do that if you're Walmart, but how long did it take for them to become Walmart to where Sam Walton can just step away from everything and let the system run itself? That's not something that you do in 2 years. It takes time to get to that point, and you got to have that scale of business. Many businesses, even if you have systems around it, you got to manage the system or you got to manage the people, right, that are managing the systems for you. You still got to lead. It's going to be very difficult in business to be successful if you're not leading properly. So you may have to lead your leaders, and that's what a lot of people fail because they've never been in a real leadership position. So now you got to lead your leaders, and that's where they struggle. But they want to buy a business in which they don't have to do anything. The business just prints money. Well, I hope you find that. And therefore, that's what I was dealing with. Where I was trying to manage everything associated with my business. Most importantly, make sure that revenue continue to come in. And I have this person that's trying to call me every 2 to 3 hours and texting me all the time, trying to figure out what I got going on. I just didn't want to deal with that. And then when I told the person, okay, this is what's going on, I need a set time during the day in which I can talk to you, they didn't like that because they didn't really understand what I was going through. And they thought the way they showed me that they was into me, that was to always be at me. But I'm trying to make money. I got to make money. I don't have time to play this high school game with you. And they didn't understand that. And so these are some of the things that you're going to have to deal with in business in these type of scenarios. Now let's go into some solutions, right? Because we're pretty much at the midpoint.